Maybe you're going to give them a hand massage with lotion or a foot rub. Maybe you're going to clear their dinner dishes. Maybe you're going to take one of their chores for them so that they have time to play or have fun or rest, and you're going to take over one of their chores. So what are you going to do to make it right? What are you going to do to make it up to that person? Maybe you're going to draw them a picture, send them a card, random acts of kindness, kind things for that person that person would actually enjoy. Right. And then once the child does that, then step 5 is to say, good job making it right. Give them a high five. Good job making it right. And then, as we say in the Midwest, life goes on and we keep her moving. Problem solved.
Those what you just described also goes for adults and goes for couples, because hurting people hurt others, and whenever they can stop and figure out why am I acting like this all the time, and they can go to their spouse and do all 5 of the things that you just talked about, it
Mhm.
helps to resolve those frustrations. But when couples live without resolving frustration, without being able, some people can't say they're sorry
Yeah, I
because
agree.
they don't mean it. They're just not sorry.
Right.
And
And
it's
even saying
hard
I'm
to,
sorry is a very vulnerable thing to, and it's admitting you're wrong. And there are people that just cannot admit they're wrong because when they've admitted they were wrong, something bad happened to them. So they have this block in admitting when they've made a mistake or done something wrong. And that, you know, a lot of times it comes off like they don't care. They have
mm-hmm,
no
mm-hmm.
emotion over it. But that's actually um not true. They actually care too much. So the people that'll say, I don't have empathy and they don't really show, I don't buy it. I don't buy it one bit. You're blocked off, you're closed off with that, but you're actually putting more emotion into it than what you're even willing to admit by shutting down and kind of black. You're like afraid. That's the emotion is fear. You're afraid to admit that you were wrong,
So you
but you
think
can
whenever
put this
somebody,
armor on like you don't care. It's like, I see right through that.
so do you think whenever somebody doesn't say they're sorry, they can say they're sorry? And I'm talking about adults. Do you think that they're internalizing that at all? You think they care? Do you think you actually think they care and they just don't,
Well,
they
I
won't?
actually think that they fear. I think that they're afraid
Vulnerability?
and it's too vulnerable, so they'll shut out that emotion and they won't care. But they're
So,
actually putting fear emotion into it. They're too afraid to apologize and admit that they made a mistake.
so what is with those of us who always take responsibility? Like we just learned that as a kid. And so, or, why is that? Like my husband and I both probably say we're sorry too much.
Mhm. Yeah.
Too much. You're like, my husband does it. I'm like, hey, it wasn't your fault. What are you saying you're sorry for? But we're
Yeah.
very much like that. But it's those couples that get caught in nobody apologizes, nobody makes it up to them, nobody makes it better. I think that's where a lot of problems come from.
Yeah, and that's the one I get the most when I have couples coming in and they have a challenge with their child and I'm coaching them on, how to help that make that problem a no problem. It really starts with the parents getting on the same page and I need to hear from both of them because they're typically both right. They just have different viewpoints of,
Seeing it in
of that
different ways.
seen it in
Mhm.
different ways. And so we need to get to the parents first. The parents need to be a unified team. And I like to say 80 to 90% of the time. We're not looking for perfection. You're not always going to agree, but being able to allow one parent to handle the situation without you overstepping them and kind of interjecting and then rescuing the child from the parent's decision or consequence or whatever. Like that's just really key. And then being able to have that conversation with your spouse later, not in front of the child to say, hey, why'd you handle it that way? I didn't really agree
Absolutely.
with that. I had your back. I supported you on it, but I really need to know, like we need to have those conversations um, first. And we really need to be on the same page as a unified front with our kids. And or if we're going to have disagreements or differences, it's okay to have some of those differences in front of the child so the kid can see, as long as you're willing to work it out and come to a resolve before the child leaves the room. Like it's okay for kids to see parents arguing or being upset or having a heated discussion in front of the kids. I don't think we should be hiding that kind of stuff from our children because it's a really great opportunity for the child to see that people can get really mad, frustrated, upset, and they can find a resolve in that and still stay together.
And that's the important part, is always finding a resolve, not leaving things, hanging. So today, as we're looking at this, we are, children are always going to have trouble because they start out as an infant. I mean, they're figuring it out all their life. They're emulating their parents and what goes on around them. And they're always growing. But when we're an adult, like I said, if there was big challenges as a kid, you really do have to stop and think about what they were and address them, or they will pour into your relationship that you have. And you'll also pour them out onto your own children.